Jumbo Africa. Well, Jumbo Africa, well, it is interesting times, I must say. We are back here at the Calabash FNB Stadium. This was the venue for this past week's matches. That is the first legs of South Africa versus Egypt, round one. It is in the CAF Champions League. We'll have to see if the South African teams will survive in Cairo this week. Remember, the two teams play first Mamelodi Sundowns against Ahly, and then there's the Pyramids against Orlando Pirates. 0-0 are the scorelines from there. But plenty to talk about as I'm joined here by Zizo, Mahlatsi, Mphahlele on the far right there, and the Nigerian Super Eagles legend, 300 and what matches in the PSL for the now defunct beautiful Bates.
I hope he's going to be able to use my crosses.
Now I have my gloves here. I have my gloves. One-time catch, you know. And maybe I have to cut the crosses.
Of course, gents, plenty to talk about from AFCON U20 Preview. The Flying Eagles used to dominate this one. But since the days of introducing MRI, we don't know.
No. The record is there. They have won it 7 times. The record, they're going for the 8th time now. The record is, you cannot take away that one from them. They have done it, and you know they deserve to get credit. You know, but yeah. MRI is there in the air now. We can see how far they can go.
We'll have to check how many times have they won this MRI.
Yeah. So there's plenty to talk about with the Champions League. We've got the AFCON U20 Preview. We've got also some developing news happening in the UK. Lyle Foster is back in the English Premier League with Burnley. We'll talk about that. But also CAF under Dr. Petrus Motsepe, he's really turning that institution around. I think the second term is starting really well for him. We'll move into that. They announced a sponsorship last week, and we understand that there's another important sponsor that has just been introduced. In fact, there's a new sponsor that has been announced, and Zizo, he was there, and definitely we'll be looking into that one. But also, we spoke about FAS. It's good to see that finally the election is going to take place.
Finally, I think they deserve it. As a country, Zambia deserve it. You know, the players. You know, everything must just be kept aside. They must look into the interests of the players, which is very important. You know, you don't want all those things of banning the country not to play a big tournament because it's going to affect the player. I just think they must put their head together. This is the right thing to do, and election must be held.
Yes, and then the last point that we'll be discussing is the issue of Ngezana, racism issues, and we know a lot of our players who've been facing this in Spain, in Russia, you know, in a number of countries.
Because he put on social media, I think on Instagram, some of the racist messages has been getting from the people there. I guess this is a continuous war that we need to fight as society, not only in football. There's definitely no place for racism anywhere in the world, and I just hope that the federation and the league, the authorities, maybe look deeper into this thing, so that the culprits are found and they must face the full might of the lawyer. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, definitely we'll be looking into that. But I just wanted to kickstart the issue of the under-20 AFCON, and especially when it comes to the preparation. So I attended the preparation, the last media engagement Coach Raymond Mdaka had with the media. Obviously, no Mbogas there. Also, Tiwani, as soon as he's done against Ahly, he will remain there because they play 2 days later. And I think Sundowns had issues with their left back in terms of injuries as well.
Modiba is back. They can slot him there.
Yeah, of course. But Duvel Lunga has been out, and Duvel Lunga is the one who's been preferred more.
Yeah, when you look at the preparations of our under 20, what do you think about the state of readiness, there's no doubt about the quality of that team and how they fared in the COSAFA, but AFCON and COSAFA are two different things.
Yeah, I think you sort of feel sorry for these boys, man. As you say, I think it's a strong team. Maybe Ba and Bogazi, who parents are not releasing him. All around very good team, but talking about preparations, I just don't think that there's good preparation. We are one of the teams that are going to be the first ones to play, and then we're still in South Africa. Some of the teams that are going to be playing their first matches later, maybe sometime next week or something like that, have already arrived at the tournament, and that talks to poor preparation by us. I think today they had a friendly match. Today being a Tuesday
against an ABC.
Of Skugule United. That's really can't bode well for these boys, and we will be. I hope that the public must understand, if something goes wrong there, they don't do well, we must put it back on the preparations that has been given by someone. Because
you see, that's where you give Nigerian credit. The Fire Eagles are already there, preparing properly. They are playing Egypt today, so that's where you give Nigeria credit. We are serious in this tournament.
When it comes to that, I guess that we have to give it to you, because our guys
on the footballing side of things, Nigeria is always there. But you are making a very interesting point, Greggy, because if you look at these fixtures, South Africa is playing on the 27th.
Yeah, against the host.
Against the host, and they're playing again on the 30th. Yeah. Nigeria is only playing on the 1st. Of May, but already they are there.
That's a serious serious country. Everything is serious in that country. We want to win this tournament this time around again. But on a serious note, I just feel like a tournament like this, where you produce the future stars. These were opportunities given by the young stars for them to be known worldwide, and for them to represent their country very well. Preparation is everything. Preparation is key in every tournament. Those small things that need to be avoided. I mean, a week before, you're supposed to be in that, around the region there, getting acclimatized to a lot of things, getting used to, you're playing the host country. You need to be there early so that you can have the feeling. You can have the feeling from the supporters, people on the street, and you know what you're expecting. I think South Africa, this is not acceptable.
Yeah, because also part of you arriving early also means that you are it's going to come from your pocket. Because this, when it comes to these kind of tournaments, CAF, FIFA, even COSAFA, they only pick up from a certain time. So it also means that you must be prepared to have budgeted for this.
Yeah, because already the future is out a long time. There's a tournament in so time. It's starting on the 27th. You are playing the host country. You have to be prepared. Take out some things. This is a benefit for the country. If the team win the tournament, there's a lot of good things that come out for the country. So sacrifice a little bit. Be there at least a week. A week is something reasonable.
Coach, let's be blunt. These ones of SAFA couldn't pay salaries. How are they going to take the kids there before to prepare for a tournament?
Yeah,
it's clear. Yeah. They don't have money to do this thing. And hence I'm saying, I feel sorry for the kids because...
and the technical team, because the technical team has drawn a program and...
Yeah. Nobody's supporting the program.
It's true.
So it's a big problem.
But from a technical point of view, how does this affect the team now? Especially when you look at it, the team plays on Sunday against the host nation, and the team will probably arrive there on Thursday.
Probably they are because they're not going to fly straight. With the preparation, they might transit somewhere, get into Egypt there. You train, probably the good training you're going to have maybe on Friday. On Saturday is just, captain run. So I don't know how the feeling.
And this is a tournament. It's not like you're going to play a game there.
This is a big tournament. This is a big tournament.
Against the host nation, that stadium will be full.
First game in every tournament is very important. Yes. How you start the first game, it gives you that leeway for you to, progress in the group.
And what is the other problem in all these things? Most of these players in this under 20 side are used to the professionalism they see at their clubs. When they see this nonsense that is happening there with these things that are happening behind the scenes at the team, they will be very discouraged because they will compare the mess that is at the national team camp to the professionalism that they get at clubs. You've got players from Sundowns, Pirates, Cape Town City, all over the place, who know how things are properly done.
Chiefs is there. There's a goalkeeper, Fletcher from Portugal. He's there. I mean, Pirates and Sundowns play on Friday in the Champions League. They left on Monday, both teams.
And one game Champions
One
League.
game Champions League.
And you are playing like 3 games in the group stage. It depends how you do. You stay longer, but at least prepare. Prepare well, because every preparation gives you the opportunity to win a tournament.
I mean, talking about Sundowns, Ahly chartered immediately after the match. The following day, they were back home.
And
These
you-
ones I can tell you now, you're going to go to Qatar or what, take forever there. You're going to take forever to get there. The players are tired. You have Friday to train. Saturday is Captain Run, Sunday you are playing an official match against the host nation.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable.
But I just want us to look forward to the opening games. Obviously, as you can see, the group, we did share the group last week, but you can also see the group there. As we say, Egypt, Zambia, Sierra Leone, Amajita, and Tanzania. And then you've got the mighty Flying Eagles.
Fly Eagles. Niger boys.
Niger.
We take
Niger.
serious. We are serious.
The Afrobeats boys. Yeah. Obviously, Nigeria opens against Tunisia. South Africa plays 2 matches in the opening game against Tanzania as well. And then there's Kenya and Morocco in Group B, Senegal, Central African Republic, DR Congo, and Ghana. I think last week we did give our predictions, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you want to review now because
No,
of preparations. Oh, okay.
Standing barrel.
Yeah, no. I think the boys will rise to the occasion. If there's one thing.
But coming with this preparation, now it's a little bit doubt, because, with the youngsters, you want to give. We all are thinking that by now they should be there playing against a proper national team that they're not in the same
And I
group.
understand that the technical team, this was part of their plan. Because even if you don't have friendlies to fly other people, but if you get early there, you get other teams.
Yeah,
that
you're
are
not in your
there.
group. You can
get
play
other
them.
teams to play against.
So, it's a pity.
There's no money.
No, Nigeria will tell South Africa, give them some tips when they play Egypt today. And if you want something, just ask the Flying
You
Eagles.
do know that there's a possibility of South Africa and Egypt and Nigeria meeting in the quarterfinals.
If they come out from the group. Because
Oh, Nigeria!
no.
Nigeria
If Amajita come out from the group,
Oh.
Flying Eagles are definitely gonna come out from that group.
No,
Now they'll sort out Tunisia, and before then, after 2
You're
games,
talking about the CAF Champions.
yeah, this is not COSAF. This is a proper tournament.
Yeah.
This is where you
But
test.
I just wanted to go through that squad because now the change it also means that you would have had this reliable Champions League Premiership player in Bogazi, and now you're replacing him with someone. I think I've heard that Tatus Bia from Sundowns. Yeah, is there, but he's a DTC player, so he doesn't really have that experience. So you also wanted someone there who
Like for like, in terms
Like
of
for like,
quality
yes.
and experience and all that. It's a... And I think from Bogas, obviously, I mean, if I'm Pirates, I will really pretty much do the same. But if I was the player, I would love to play in a big tournament. So it's a tough one, this one. I mean, last time we talked about how about if they arrange with the FA for him to stay behind in Egypt because they're in Egypt and then come back later. But obviously, probably, they exhausted all those discussions and they couldn't find each other. It's a tough one. I feel sorry for the player. When you go to these types of
And you
tournaments.
remember in our previous episode, he was clear that he wants to.
He wants to go.
Yeah.
So in these types of tournaments, you go there, you have 1 or 2 good games, and then there's a scout, they check, they sign you, you don't come back. You go. So it's unfortunate. For Pirates, you have to understand Pirates also. They're pushing for the Champions League, they're pushing for the league, they're in the Nedbank Cup.
He's a left center back, left-footed center back.
So it's a very, very difficult one, but yeah.
Just want to touch on, especially a team like we saw Morocco last week. Winning the under-17 AFCON, and I think it was a well-deserved one. And we're in their group. In fact, we were not in their group. We're in their Morocco's group. But we didn't play against Morocco.
No.
Yeah. But we saw Morocco.
Yeah.
And we're not surprised that they won the tournament. And now, after winning the under-17 AFCON, the confidence is there in them. And when you look in that group, because it's a tricky group that they've got, because they're in your group. And there's also Tunisia there. So it means that, it's going to be tight.
Yeah, it's going to be tight.
It's going to be very, very tight. Morocco, and they have the way they play their own football, and most especially when they're playing in their backyard there, Egypt is hosting, and with the host country, you always expect them to do well, but Morocco now, the confidence is there. Under 17, they won, they're doing well in the senior national team,
Lots of European-based players
there, they're coming to play, I just feel like it's going to be a very interesting tournament, but in that group, it's going to be a very, very difficult group, but, as always, Super Eagles and the rest. Super Flying Eagles and the rest. Yeah. So there's number one, and the rest must come under them.
I like the confidence. But one thing for sure is that I will be there in Cairo.
That's
and I'll be there for the Flying Eagles. And I will play them the great George, in fact, the Greg Itafia's
No. Before then, you're okay, because they're playing today. So when you see them, you ask them, how did they beat Egypt? Because they are beating Egypt in the friendly game today, and prepared properly for Tunisia.
So, that one is going to be very interesting. But as we move away, why, Greg? Why is Nigeria strong at this level?
I think it's the only opportunity the youngsters have to be like, they are the biggest, the senior players, the ones they look up to, So you feel like, okay, as a young player, you heard a story about Osimhen. He played for the Flying Eagles from the under 17. Now he's playing for Galatasaray from Napoli. Now Manchester is looking for him. You feel that road can be easy too, because he passed through the same stage. So you go for a tournament like this, there's going to be a lot of scouts. If you do well, 1 or 2 games, a lot of scouts, because you're in the national team. And for you to be in the national team is not an easy thing. For you to be picked to play in the national team, you must be proud of yourself. You must want to play in the national. That's why I feel for the Pirates defender, because national team is the ultimate. But at the same time, as you say, Pirates too, they have big tournament to play. Champions League is there. They have the FA Cup Finals, and the league there. They're fighting for the league. So,
and also, I think there's a lot of eyes now on South African players.
Yeah.
When you look at Bafana-Bafana's results, you look at the 3 teams in the semi-finals. So the scouts also, remember, they are watching the Champions League in Europe. They're watching the CAF Confed in those stages of the group stages and knockout. So it also means that they already know the players. So they just want to confirm something.
When they go to this tournament.
So as I say, the Flying Eagles players, mostly Nigerian players, they go to this tournament like this. They know if they do well, it's one step closer to the senior national team.
Yes, and with them, they don't have a Premier Soccer League that pays so well.
No, the only opportunities for them to play for the national team and to go out of the country.
Well, I think we'll have to leave that one there, but I think as we go out, let's hear from the coach, Raymond Mdaga, on their preparations, and obviously he discusses even some of the things we spoke about here, and also the changes that have had to be made because of the 1-2 omissions. Obviously, the one of Chandra Campbell, we've always known about it.
Earlier on, we had prepared for that, and it's something that we would have loved to have. But as a coach, you must know you're always on your toes, and the technical team and the boys know that when things change, you really and immediately adjust. In the initial preparation, we were supposed to play Congo before they also changed because it also affected them to say the tournament now is no more in Ivory Coast, it's in Egypt, so we can't be able to play the match. We would have loved to have an extra match. Hence, even the match that we're playing, we wanted like a team that is, in the look of things, is in a better level compared to the boys, but because we wanted the physical challenges and the mental challenges that we'll find with the seniors, and it's something that we would have loved to, honestly. So, but we are fine with where we are so far. From the group that we started with, we don't have Chandri. The issue of Chandri was said some 3 weeks back to say the team, in the discussion with the manager, to say he's in the first team, so it will be difficult for them to release the boy. Well, Mabena was injured because he was one of the key players. Mbokazi is one of the key players, one player that we started every program with him. We thought we'll have him, but unfortunately we'll not have him.
Well, I think we'll just leave it there. I think it's clear from what the coach is talking about. It's things that we've been talking about. But let's hope that with all the shortcomings of the preparations, which you must say that are not of the doing of the technical team or the players, it doesn't affect the team's hopes of qualifying for the World Cup in Chile later this year. We haven't been to the World Cup since 2019 with the Thabo Senong's team of Apolis. Lyle Foster was also part of that team as well. And but now we remain in Egypt. And because now there's the second leg of what is going to happen is going back to Egypt. Now we move to the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederation Cup. This is the very important stage of CAF Interclub tournaments. And we've seen for a very long time where it will just be TP Mazembe and North African clubs, or it will just be Sundowns and North African clubs. It's not every day you have this kind of a situation. But now, this weekend, when it comes to the second legs, it could very well be just Egypt only in the final, or South Africa only, or again, South Africa, Egypt. Maybe, Zizo, starting with you, how did you see the first legs?
Yeah, firstly with Sundowns, and I felt Sundowns were not at their best. Though they had most of the possession, but they were not that utterly dominant. So sometimes I take my mind back to the Sundowns of Coach Pizzo, Sundowns of Rulani. They used to dominate teams, they used to score goals, and it's not happening now. And you can sense that the people there at Sundowns are a bit edgy. There's a bit of pressure on this guy now, on the coach. There are people who actually have gone to the extent of saying if he doesn't qualify for the final, they may pull the trigger. That's how serious this thing is. As to whether that's right or not right, I don't know. But the Sundowns are not fully convincing, especially in the Champions League. There were some of the things which were not happening. For their sake, Mrs. is back. I can even go as far as saying that maybe be brave and start with him in Cairo, because of the.
Do you think the fitness levels will allow?
He won't give you 90 minutes definitely. But you may have a buffer on the bench. Let him start. He can help you to settle.
Or maybe even if he starts on the bench, but bring him earlier.
I think it's a once-off game, because now you're talking about going to the finals, and it's either make or break that's define the league or the tournament generally. And as a Sundowns, as a team, as you always say, define where the coach stands now. So you put your best players, and I think he can give you 65 minutes. He has been playing a little bit of friendly games in closed doors, and you can see when he came in there was a big difference in terms of how they played.
But I've heard a lot of things about how maybe even the sporting director didn't really, not say to rate him strongly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because you sort of hear those. Obviously, nothing official has been said, but there is that thing that is there that the sporting director does not really seem as somebody who can still play for 2 more seasons. That's why they've given him 1-year contract now, and I have a feeling that if the contract that they've given him now comes to an end and it's up to Flemingberg, he's not going to get another contract. But on this one, I have a feeling that the club will overrule Flemingberg. Temba will stay at Sundowns. It will be a shame to see him going to end his career elsewhere.
It's interesting, because on the other side, you've got a Bafana coach who is really waiting, because he knows what he can do for him.
You can see Moshishi is a different class. He has contributed a lot at Sundowns, even the national team. You can see the quality of him. He's not doing for him to get injured. He's injured, he's back now. rightfully he need to take his position. And you need Sundowns, the midfield. I mean, a lot of teams now, even Ahly, they already know what they expect. But if you have Mishishi there coming with different expectation, I think it can spice in the midfield. Because people like Peter, for them to excel, when Peter was scoring a lot of goals, Mishishi was there. He's not a selfish player. He wants other people to shine. And he commands respect in that dressing room. Yeah. When a player commands respect in the dressing room, when you have a lot of international players, I think, for me, he deserves to start in Egypt. How they're going to do it, I don't know. You need to put him there, and for other players to, to gel with him. And
it's a very interesting discussion, this, because most of the Egyptian guys that I know, they will always ask about Themba Zwane. Is he playing? And they know that when Sundowns is Sundowns in their rhythm and with Themba Zwane, because Sundowns going to Ahly, taking the ball to Ahly, you're not going to beat Ahly like that. Yeah. But Sundowns keeping the ball, like Sundowns are used to. Yeah. That's how, and then you draw them to come out. Yeah. And I think, because it's not going to be easy like that.
No, it's not going to be easy. But if you look at the 20 minutes he played on Saturday, he calmed down a bit. Yes. There was a little bit of control. Yeah. Yes. He found the right pass. He was not overwhelmed. Obviously, somebody of his experience, he's not going to be easily overwhelmed by Ahly because he's played against them so many times. Obviously, the match fitness can be an issue, but it's something you can work on. I mean, as a coach has been saying, surely over the last few weeks, he has been playing a lot of friendly matches to try and get him up to speed. He's somebody who will know what to do. Yeah. If anything, all the players that have been playing this entire time, we look up to him. Yeah. What do we do? True. Because of the experience, he's a leader. He knows the moments, and this moment really, you will think that this is Mushishi's moment. He will, if things just click on Friday.
Because how he also plays is a bit awkward, especially for the North African teams.
You think, he has control of the ball. I just look, sometimes I look at him like, with the way he's then control, the midfield, but he's a little bit faster in terms of how he plays, He has that ability to create something out of nothing, and these strikers, when you have Peter that can run behind the defenders, you need Meshishi to pass him, to feed him, And with the Sundowns midfield, you have Allende, you have Mokwena, I don't know you have Adams. You need something to spice there because they already know. Ahly now, they came here, they wanted a draw, they don't wanted to concede, and they didn't concede. And going back to Egypt, they always hope that they have something to give. Yeah. When you play there with the crowd there, there's something going to happen. But we know Sundowns, they strive when they play away because when you try to attack them, that's where they have opportunity to explore your defense.
The other player that they must give a chance there is Tabelo Morena if he's fit.
Who?
Tabelo Morena. He has a goal in Egypt all the time.
Yes. And also when you playing away like that, and again we'll go back to Coach Hugo because on the continent, we also see how he's best utilizing these players. When there are dual roles that need to be played by maybe someone who's going to play in the midfield high up, who needs to be more defensive, he will go with both Mudau and Morena. But he will put the more offensive one with no defensive duties, the midfielder that is on the bench. So I think that supports what you're saying, that he gives you something. He will track back. He will also be more defensive. So it also means that in instances where Sailor is going up a lot, he will cover for him.
Yeah, so for me, the two changes from the Saturday, you take out Jaden, you put Mishishi, you take out one of the two strikers, you put Morena there, which is
Matthew or Peter, because Peter was there, Ribeiro, Matthew.
You take Matthews, you put Morena there.
Because what you're then saying is that people will also say, but Jaden. But people must also understand that local football or domestic football is different from the continental football. True. There you also need players who are used to that level.
Yeah. I still feel that Jaden will be, he's the future of Sundowns. With more Champions League matches, he'll learn how to play Champions League football. He's a fantastic footballer. But when we are faced with this situation that Sundowns are facing now, where you have to get something out of this match.
Your best team. You have to put your best team.
Yeah,
You have to put
but
your
also
best
this game, there's the factor now, and it's interesting that you talk about that. In terms of experience is very important as well. There's the factor of the approval of the 75,000 crowd for Cairo International Stadium. But when you have Ronan Williams, Mshishi, who were part of the 2019 Bafana Bafana team that knocked out Egypt at that very same venue when it was packed, and then you've got almost that team the entire Sundowns team. Those
players
who were there and have beaten Ahly there.
Yeah, I mean, these players are used to international players. They have, they've been playing Champions League. They beat home and away. This game is meant for the big players, and you put your best player on the pitch, no matter whether they give you, if it's 60 minutes, if it's 50 minutes, if it's 70 minutes, get the result first. Have something to protect, and now you can put other players to do the finishing job. But I think Mshishi, you need him to do something special in Egypt.
So defensively, you say you keep Lebusa there.
No, top.
Because also the experience.
Top.
Suarez is going to finish with it. No, Suarez must wait a bit.
Sundowns, you see, unfortunately in Sundowns, they have a lot of quality.
Yes.
So if you don't produce, the next guy will produce. So, and everyone deserves opportunity to play. And you can see when he came in, the last game, he was calm, was playing through the strikers, and he was passing the ball to wide. And I think Sundowns, they need their defenders to play, but not carelessly.
Yeah, but also, now, we must say that even with the team that played last week, Ahly still had chances.
Yeah.
And they could have stolen the game. We saw that.
They've got 2 goals. This is a lot for offsides.
Yes,
which were correct as well.
Exactly. And there's a player that he's also one of those problematic players off the field. But when he's on song, Ashore. Yeah.
He was unbelievable on that day. I think, tracking back, making tackles, that day, for me, he was the man of the match in that game, and the way he plays, he attacked, he comes back, the midfield was his own. He was the boss there. But when Mshishi came in, I think, he went a little bit backward. He knows that something can happen. For me, I just think Themba Zwane, this game is made for him.
Themba Zwane, Mshishi Zwane. Well, we're going to move from that Masandawana game. Remember, these are the 2 teams that are both going to the FIFA Club World Cup. And I'm sure both teams, in fact, of the 4 teams that are left now, these are the only 2 teams going to the Club World Cup. And they both want to go to the Club World Cup as African champions. So I think that's...
going to the final may decide if the coaches are going to the Club World Cup.
Is that so?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is this so?
Yes.
Even here in the capital town?
Yes.
Nothing is guaranteed?
No.
And then usually they say... when it comes to a big project like this, it doesn't just start with the coach. It means that the person who was influential in appointing the coach also gets reviewed.
Yeah, for Sundowns, I will say it here now, that if something happens to the coach, the technical director must also go.
Hi.
That's what must happen.
Yeah. Well, talking about a situation that we know that obviously Coach Rivero, this is the biggest highlight that Orlando Pirates has got this season to be at this stage of the competition because they were last year back in 2013.
Yeah.
That was what, 12 years ago? Sure. But also, Pirates needed to be saved by the VAR on 2 occasions at this venue last week. But I will say boldly and say, when you look at the reviews, Minister, that VAR you're attempting to come with, please fast track it, because last week Mapagania left this venue very happy, very, very happy. But looking at what we saw last week, and especially the second half performance and how dominant in terms of chances Pyramids was. How do you look back at that game?
No, I see a team in Pyramid that came to South Africa, FNB Stadium, feeling that they have that confidence to win. That's where they play. They play with dominance in terms of controlling a possession, are trying to attack. They were not afraid, you know. They were not afraid. If you check other teams that play against Orlando Pirates, maybe other thing again we can consider, maybe because of his FMB, because Pirate playing in Orlando, small ground, the atmosphere is tight, and they have that, you know, they have been playing there, they're used to it. Coming to FMB, I don't know, it can be disadvantage to them, but, you know, the way Pyramid attacked that game, I feel like they came to win the game, but I mean, as you say, VAR save.
You are raising a very important point. Let's hear from Tlausi Khulela. Now, Tlausi Khulela is a man who's feared in Egypt because he was part of the team that beat Zamalek and Ahly there. I remember his one-on-one when Coach Pitso was still the Bafana Bafana coach at the Cairo Military Stadium. Yeah. You know, and he says something very interesting about Orlando Stadium and FNB.
We are very unfortunate. Pirates was very unfortunate to play in Soccer City. It's a field that they are not familiar with. Yes, they play there, they know it, but with how and the approach of the tactics, it doesn't suit their standard, and therefore it was very striking for Pirates in terms of controlling. I've been saying this that South Africa, today's South African football, we are very blessed. We are very blessed. We've got the rhythm that North Africa, West Africa, any country, you can't stand against. As long as you can talk with that thing, as long as you can talk with football. And I'll come again to say to you that when they are playing away, it's very easy. It's very easy. It's very easy to play away compared to... You are free, no pressure from your own supporters. But now the boys have to dig deep. Dig deep in a sense whereby they know where they are, what is at stake, and what they want to achieve. That will be the difference against Pyramids. And Pyramids, probably is the first time they are reaching this kind of stage.
Yes.
And compared to Ahly. But I'm still standing with my say to say that we'll have South African Cup of Championship final. I'm still standing with it.
Sundowns Pirates.
Sundowns Pirates.
Carl is supporting the point that you have just made, that FNB is not Orlando, and not just about the atmosphere, but also knowing the corners of the pitch and everything.
Yeah, Pirates are comfortable at Orlando. You just need to go to Orlando, even during the domestic matches there, maybe on a Wednesday night.
Yes.
Just feel the atmosphere that they create inside the stadium. It's true that coming to FNB Stadium was a bit of a disadvantage for them. The comfort of home, there's nothing better than the comfort of home. They had to move. I'm sure they would have trained here during the week and all those things, but you know.
Are you saying Pyramids would have been more comfortable because they were coming from the Kaizer Chiefs dressing room?
Maybe they put something there in the dressing room there, you know. but I mean, I think it's a valid point. I'm sure probably even if you ask the coach privately, he'll say he should have probably prefer to have played at Orlando, because that's where they're comfortable. They know the ground, the atmosphere. That stadium could have been packed to the rafters. This stadium is big, FNB, to feel and all that kind of thing. And it was unfortunate. You know, there was another event happening at Orlando Stadium, which was booked a long time ago.
And so also we know that during the Easter weekend, Orlando Pirates always is featured away, because also Orlando Pirates is a community club, and also is a club that also works closely with the community, and obviously they don't prioritize football over community events.
At Orlando, But for football-wise, I think it was a bit of a disadvantage.
But from a technical point of view, when you don't play at your usual venue, how does this affect you?
As we say earlier, you know, Pirates have been used to Orlando Stadium. You know, the atmosphere there, the grass is not the same with FNB here. You know, the stadium is a little bit tight. You know, you have that. You know, the supporters give you energy, and Pirate supporters, credit must be given to them. The way they push Pirate throughout the season, I think they have done so well. They are so happy. You know, give the players confidence to play, and the players, they know the runs. You know, sometimes you might think it's not advantage. It's an advantage, because playing in your home ground, you know what you expect, and you know how how and where you can
Correct.
operate in your backyard. But I just think it's not an excuse because Pirates, they can do it away from home too. So
because we're talking about the Pirates that has played 3 matches in North Africa and won all of them.
No, they won,
yeah.
You know, even in Cairo where they're going, they've won those matches.
But not this pyramid team. What I saw on Saturday with this pyramid team, I think Fiston is going to feast some from
What makes you talk like that?
Because
Is it because of? Did you see the Burkinabe? Ibrahim Torre.
Torre is there.
The number 7.
And Fiston is something else.
What does Fiston have?
He has this complete striker ability in terms of, you can check the finish, the first goal.
Yes.
That's a typical striker. You know, the Drogba
predatory
look,
instincts.
He doesn't, he smells these things. Unfortunately, the second goal was a hand. VAR did top job. We need it in the league. We need it everywhere. It can help a lot of people.
That's your boy, Aujola.
I mean, I just feel like, they have that ability, and a striker give you confidence. A striker give you the ability to win games. And if you have someone like Fiston there, you always have goals in him. And playing at home, I think Pirate defense is going to be a little bit busy in that day.
Yeah. It goes back to what we were talking here the other day, that if you want to do well in Champions League, your key players, West Africa.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing.
So, and I'm glad, unfortunately, and I know that they don't have a problem with this. This is a discussion point that we were having at Skukuna United when Amachita were playing there, even with the management at Skukuna, to say what they saw. Also, as we talk about Torre and them, that it's important that South African team, you must always have this balance, and taking nothing away from the players Sundowns has been signing, but you can see how the South American players are struggling in the Champions League.
I mean, you can't be faced with a big beast like Ahly when things are not happening. You put Stellis who struggles. That's where the difference is. Allende is okay, Ribeiro is okay, but elsewhere, Stellis, Esquivel, and all those other players, they just cannot play Champions League football.
Because what we are also talking about here, and what the point that Zoe has also brought, Warner Greg, is it's also the spine we're talking about.
Yeah.
In the spine, there's Torre from Burkina Faso. There's Mayele as the number 9. And if they are coming on the bench, they want to change, and then they want someone who's going to be trickery. There's a Nigerian young boy, Aujola. And you can also look, and we've been having this discussion. That's why Al Ahly, even after Coach Pitso was long gone, they kept Pesitao because Pesitao was bringing a different element to their football.
And also I can tell you now, for Pyramids, these players that you've just mentioned now, together, they don't cause that the ones are not separate for this Stellis.
And with Fiston, from young Africa, he has been there. He knows in and out. He's a tested player in the African continent. A guy from DR Congo. You know that. I mean, the ability. I watch him on Saturday. I just say, no, this is a complete striker. His movement off the ball, how he controls the ball in the box is just, he just have an eye for a goal. I just feel like any team, you have to have this mix. First of all, you have quality in your team.
Correct.
Secondly, you have competition. And this are coming from West Africa, Southern Africa. You have this. They know the region. They know how everything is done in that environment.
Correct.
So I just feel like you need to mix these players for them to add value in your team.
Yeah, one of the players that we spoke about him last week here, and I also even asked one of the players, El Khabas, in the press conference, was Mustafa Fati. Now, Mustafa Fati scored against Orlando Pirates back in 2015. You remember Eric Tinkler's team that went all the way to lose in the final to Etoile du Sahel? So he was part of that Zamalek team that beat Pirates at Mbombela Stadium. 10 years later, he's still at it. I mean, Greg, you've competed against these Egyptian guys. The longevity, you look at El Shanawi, his brother is apparently one of the highest paid players, if not the highest paid player in Africa. Sure. He's the goalkeeper here in Pyramids. But El Shanawi is 36. El Khadari retired after 40s,
42.
in his 40s. Yeah. And here in South Africa, we are quick to send people to retirement. Even now, Mshish is only being offered a 1-year contract.
For me, I just think, this symptom is within the African, not the North African side. And if you have a lot of players that played over 30 years, like your age now over 30, they feel like, no, it's old. No, it's not old. Experience is more important. We are talking about Sundowns team now going to play against Ahly. We're talking about experience now. Where the experience come from? With your skills and with the age, maturity, how to control, because it's going to be a big crowd there. You talk about 5,000, supporters there. If you put a youngster there, which is not used to that situation, he can crack. But for me, Moshishi, giving him 1 year, I just think something. I don't know what's that. But any other team, we gladly take him. If Sundowns don't want him again. But coming back to Fatih, I think lifestyle contributes. How you live your style, and they're in North Africa. They look after themselves very well. They look after themselves. In terms of when you play for a club, they weigh you before the season starts. After the season, you get weighed because the preseason they want to see you in that in that shape again. So there's a lot of things.
Sleeping early.
You have to be typical professional. You understand. So I just feel like in North Africa there's a lot of players that plays more than over 30.
Yes, and also it's about the focus, as you say.
Yeah.
On the issue of the long, look at Real Madrid and Luka Modric, he's still there.
Yeah.
Very interesting, indeed. I'm not even going to wait for the predictions here. Time, so that we deal with Champions League, and then
our hope. We just wish, coming back to FMB, coming to South Africa, we want to see Orlando Pirates and Sundowns finals.
So,
but
at the moment,
it's at the moment with what I saw Pyramid produce, and with the way Ahly play, and we know they're much stronger at home, but we know Sundowns team can easily come away with a victory.
I'm going to say this: I've seen South African teams doing well.
Yeah.
On the road, and we've traveled with Bafana. I've seen them doing well on the road.
Yeah.
But Sundowns will have to change their tactics. Yeah. I'm not really worried about the Pirates team because on the continent they've been stronger there.
Yeah.
And also, and something that Klaus Holler said there earlier, that this Pirates team is different on the road.
Yeah.
But Sundowns must play the football that Ahly fears.
Yeah.
Don't go with the ball to Ahly. You're playing into their hands. But be that as it may, I think this week it's a bit emotional this week to attach predictions. No. I don't want to be doubted and say, we don't know our teams. But like one thing I can tell you, again, African Football Connect will be well represented there in Egypt.
Definitely.
Watch the story. Watch the story.
We have just done the bookings now. We're done.
We're not talking about bookings now. We checked in. We checked in now. Accreditation done, approved. Yes. But now we move. I think before we'll come back with some nice news from CAF. From a South African point of view, and it's said that each and every time we've got at least one player playing in English Premier League, we are celebrating, and I'm sure, I'm sure our guy here is saying, guys, we are talking about one player in the English Premier League.
We are talking about players moving now from other club to that club. We're not talking about getting promotion. No. But on a serious note, firstly, credit to him, credit to the team. He has done well, to be in the team that get promoted. Premier League is the best, represented in terms of the African players, and for him to be there, I think you have one candidate now that when Super Eagles come in August, we can say, okay, I know this, I know this guy.
But it's also, the way it happened, because Burnley were relegated, and the board there, they were looking at Vincent Kompany taking the team back, and then came the money bags of Bayern Munich, and things had to work differently, but they are back, they got promoted. But obviously, he's been more on the injury list even now is injured, and also in terms of goals, he's not really contributed big time. But when he plays, they really respect him.
Yeah, I think it was a pity when David left. Vincent Company left. I feared for him that they may let him go and stuff, because when he had all those problems that he had, Vincent, the coach, was the one who really stood by him. It's good that they backed him. He went down with them. He's back. There's been injuries. I think he's played 27 matches, scored only 2 goals. I still feel it's a little bit lean in terms of goals. But if you are in and out of a team because of injuries, it's very difficult to get going. Maybe you can attribute the fact that he has not scored enough because of injuries. Though it's not an excuse. At that level, if you are a striker carrying these goals, you have got to score goals. He's back in the big time now. And, the more he continues, it's going to be better, good for Bafana. Surely this time now, we'll have him at an AFCON, unlike we didn't have him last time.
This element of goals, because I think also he's slightly different now by the technical team. Does that affect, or in terms of what becomes your critical role now?
You need to contribute as a striker. For you to be known or for people to talk about you is for you to score. They sign you for you to score goals. And as you earlier said, with the injury, you cannot really, you can give him, you can make that excuse. But whenever he plays, he always contributes big time. And he's a big boy. He's fast. He has scored. When Company was there, that was his. I think for me, that was his best season, where he scored a lot of goals and contributed a lot. But now I just pray he can be injury-free, contribute in the big time, because he's coming to meet the big boys now.
But this Burnley team has not been a really high-scoring team when you look at the number of goals. Or maybe it's something different, because, what Leeds has done this season, 89 goals. 89 goals, and you look at all the other teams, 60 down. 60-something down goals. So it means that it's been different with Leeds, and obviously we have some allegiance to Leeds United.
Leeds, they didn't have to play yesterday because Burnley was playing against Sheffield, and Leeds already won 6-0 in their game, so I didn't have to, because they're just waiting for Sheffield to draw or to lose, and automatically now you have Burnley and Leeds automatically, because we have our chiefs there, they respect him a lot there, and that's one credit we should give this team in England and mostly European team, they value their legend, and he's they call him the chief, and he deserves it, and he has done a lot for that team. Rightful, so they are back in the big time again. I think he's gonna go there. Maybe ambassador role for him. I don't know, but he has done so well when he played for them, and when he represent them, he done so well. I just think Leeds and Burnley now, where you have only one player in the Premier League. Okay, so one is going to be ambassador. So, but at the end of the day, I just think for first lap, I just think it's a good thing for him to come to the big boys now, the big time league now. Now we can, when we go to the elevator, when Nigerian players are the same elevator with, okay, we know this one. Not pointing at other players that is playing. Osimhen is coming from Galatasaray. You have Lukman is coming from Atlanta. You have, next August this year, it's gonna be crazy, man. We want to get that 3 points. That 3 points is important.
I think we must do a watch along with him.
I don't know if we're coming to the Calabash. He's gonna be here with us.
No, I'm going to be here.
That's going to be war. I can see it coming. Because also there's a lot at stake in that match between South Africa and
definitely.
But Burnley and Leeds must stay there. Stop this thing of
the yo-yo stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
And also for Foster, because remember, it was also good for him to remain with the team, because there were offers for him to remain in the England Premier League, but he opted to remain with the team, and now he's back there. So I hope there's been more moolah for him. Remaining in Europe, so we've seen this happening, especially with players coming from the sub-Saharan Africa, whether they are from Nigeria, they are from Cameroon, Samuel Eto'o, he's had these issues, bananas thrown at him, Didier Drogba, everyone, most guys has these problems, especially there in the Balkanian countries. In Russia and all those countries, but even in Spain, And now, what's happening with this thing, Ngezana, in Romania?
Yeah, well, I think the Ngezana issue is really saddening. He shared some messages from the DMs that he gets from, like I must say, vile messages of racism that he gets from fans. Europe, and in particular Eastern Europe, has had this problem for a very, very long time. I know FIFA have tried to act in the past, but there's always been a sense that they don't do enough. Yeah. We can't be in 2025 when people have got information. People still, we find black players being treated the way he's been treated at the moment. I just hope, the authorities can really find a way as to how they can solve this thing. He's not the only one.
Do you think the club and those leagues there, they take this serious?
I don't think they take it serious because it continues. And even now, I mean, if you search on the internet, you don't find anywhere where the club has come out to strongly condemn this thing. It's been happening for a while now, and it's not good. He's a guy who has gone there, has made a small contribution to the club to be where it is now. They were now in the Champions League, and he continued to play. They're giving them good performances. As to what he has done, I really don't know. I guess it's just bad people trying to do negative stuff to a black person. But it's really, really not surprising. It's not acceptable, but I'm not surprised because these people have done this for too long and they continue to get away with it.
Oga, Nigeria exports, I think they're the leading country in terms of exporting players to Europe in Africa. And I'm sure there are a lot of guys that you would have played with who found themselves in a similar situation.
A lot. Even JJ himself, he told us when we were in the camp in Tunisia for the AFCON, he told us a lot of stories. You have Joseph Yobo when he was playing in Turkey. You have
Turkey,
where he's playing in Russia. I mean, these people are just used to it, in terms of how cowardly they hide under, the internet, faceless people, which, I mean, it's just crazy, But at the end of the day, as he said earlier, the authority, for me, there's two things you can stop this thing. The dot points, which is...
So that's the best way...
I feel, because sometimes these people, the clubs, they don't really act, on this situation. The FA, they say they're going to act. They pretend, they come, because a lot of players have been faced, mostly African players, and it's not acceptable.
And also the FIFA presidents, Sepp Blatter was there. There was this talk of what you're talking about, that it must go there. Infantino, there's been talk of this, that it must go there. But the fact that they are also not driving it means that they're not strong enough about this.
Yeah, they must get tough. We can't continue sitting here talking about the same thing over and over again. I think it's about time that FIFA must get tough, UEFA must get tough, so that they can try and root this thing out. It's not only in Europe. I mean, you go to Asia, black people suffer a lot there. And it's not only in sports, it's in society in general. It's not easy as a black person to live in those countries because one way or another, you will face racism. I mean, even here in South Africa where we live, it happens. Racism is alive and well in this country. And it really, it's completely unacceptable.
Yeah, in fact, in our new focus, where we're talking tactics and also looking forward, we're touching this with Kelvin Sosibo because he played in Turkey and he would have experienced this. There's a point that we were discussing about Ngezana here, the coach, the issues of racism, especially in that part of the land, in the Eastern Europe, and also you played in Turkey, and these issues of racism, they have been highly reported about there.
Yeah, I feel for Ngezana, but again, you have the Europeans. They demand a lot, especially from African players, that they need to show why they're there. But for me, it's unacceptable for them to go overboard in terms of on the racial side, because those people are very hard to please. Hard to please in a sense that when you play well, they are all your friends. But as soon as you have a dip in your performance, then they start questioning and then they'll start throwing silly chants. But again, they will also look, if the team lost, they will need to look at the victim, somebody that they can victimize. And it's so unlucky that our color, our pigmentation is the only one that is always picked on. Even though somebody can make a mistake, but as long as that you're an African child, you're always going to work on the back foot, and every time you need to put your best foot forward.
Yeah. Fortunately for you, when you were playing there, social media was not big. Or, in fact, they were not even reached this
We're in
stage.
MSN.
Because now, yes.
I
yes.
had MSN, I remember, I have MSN by
Is
then.
it?
Yes.
Because with Ngezana, the way it's reported about, and the way it also came out, they are going straight to his DMs. So it can be personal like that they target platforms where they get you directly.
Yes, yes. I think I still remember there was a time, there's Skype. Remember Skype?
Yes, yes.
Skype,
yes.
you can search someone's name and find him. There's a point where, lucky for me, I didn't actually get like bad messages. But in Turkey, one thing that I can say is Turkish are very passionate people. When you do well, they will love you from a minute get-go. You need to stamp your authority as soon as you set your foot on their soil. So for me, when I got in there, I got a message, about maybe it was 50 messages on my first game that I played, which we have, it was called an Ankara Cup. I played well on that game, debut game, played very, very well. And then on that, I saw messages on my Skype. Some of them couldn't speak English, it was broken English. But all they were saying, they would always say, welcome, which is hoş geldin in Turkish. So hoş geldin means you are welcome to Turkey, because I've proven to them that I can be what they want. And again, I follow in the footsteps of your John Shoes Mushweo, your Dumisangobo, your Helman Kelele, your Fanny Madida. So it was an easy, so for Alfred Pires. So it was easy for them to say, Africa Gune, they will say that, Africa Gune, Chok Guzel, meaning good players.
Just now, so I know that this is some very interesting developments. When we've been talking about the re-election of CAF President Dr. Petrus Motsepe, we were talking about having restored investor confidence at CAF, introducing 2 new sponsors. Obviously, we'll go to the second one because you were there. You attended that one. We'll leave it with you to introduce us into it. But the one that we saw earlier last week, CAF entering into 220 million rands deal with Royal Maroc for all its competitions. And this is something that we've always been talking about, where you will have this African airline that will be flying African teams and everything.
It will go a long way because players always complain about how tedious it is to travel on the continent. I mean, I understand that our continent's got challenges.
And also Royal Maroc airline is not, you don't find it.
Yeah, generally, yeah, I mean, even from Johannesburg, I don't think there are too many Royal Maroc.
You don't expect to see Royal Maroc airline here?
No.
Politically?
You know, well, there are political issues there. I don't know if they come here, how are they going to navigate around that one?
No, I think this one is more around the tournament.
The tournament, yeah, tournaments.
Seeing that our tournaments are always in Morocco.
Yeah, so I think it's a good thing. You need that kind of thing, an airline that will be dedicated in terms of moving the players around. And because when you're in tournament mode, there's a lot of traveling, and if you don't have enough airlines to travel to move the players around, it can be a bit tricky. And also, it's money for CAF. You know,
money for CAF, yes.
For the longest time, before Mr. Motsepe got to CAF, that place was a complete mess. I think he has done very well to clean it up. I'm just a bit worried the day he leaves, what's going to happen there. You have a feel, God forbid, that vultures are going to move in there. They are going to steal and cause chaos like it was before. Hopefully, as he prepares to leave in the next years or whenever he decides to leave, he can groom a new group of leaders, of people of integrity and ethics who can take our football forward, because we don't want to go back to 20 years ago.
Because announcing 2 sponsors in a space of 1 week is no child's play.
No.
It's massive, massive. I mean, it's good for everything. Female football, male football, under 17. You know,
The schools now.
Schools.
He has put his own money into schools.
In schools.
You know?
And the school championship is progressing
Those
well
other
now.
ones, they come in there, they're going to wait to take the money out. He's putting it.
Yeah. True.
And also, it's good to see because you look at this event, especially the event that took place here in South Africa. You see a lot of legends still involved, and I mean, this is something. I mean, always see JJ Okocha, Siaka Tiene was also here.
Yeah.
You know,
Credit to him. I mean, he has involved a lot of legends, which you need. You know, those that contribute in the game in terms of the continent, in terms of the AFCON, CAF Confederations Cup, Champions League. You know, if you have these players and get them involved in all those things, even when they do the CAF Award, you see a lot of legends. The Adebayos, JJ, the Kanus, a lot of them are there, which is they feel important, and now they can, at least on the pitch, they can say they can give one or two advice that can be, valuable for everyone.
And also the importance of this schools league. I have a feel that in the next few years we're going to see a group of exceptionally talented footballers represent their countries, maybe junior national teams, and growing into national teams, who were discovered in this course tournament. You have to start there, because if you want young people, you will find them in schools.
Yeah, because also the former Safatidi Walter Steenbok, some of the players in this under-17 team that was qualified for the World Cup played in that tournament, and even the group. When I spoke to the coach who's there now with this team, Slegedi Mokhale, the players, and whose son is also there. Morgan Gould's son, Tando Gould, previously at SuperSport United, now at Sundowns, he's there in that team, and you can see that because the vision is that in 2 years' time, these boys will be the ones playing. Because the under-17 now is an annual tournament, the under-17 World Cup.
So you need to keep on churning them out.
Exactly.
And you find them in the school.
Yeah, so...
we don't know what's the plan there by the round building, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yes. So let's just give it to Zizo as he brings us more on what happened with the other announcement.
We need to make sure that we significantly increase the financial resources for football clubs. A huge part of that money will go to football academies, will go to development structures for boys and girls, and also some of the money that we distribute to the member associations, we are confident that will contribute to players and coaches earning competitive salaries. Because if we compete against the best in the world, we've got to make sure that we have some resources that enables us to stand on our own and perform very well.
Now, as we close, gents, very interesting. I know it was, we always touch when it's controversial, but also to see that there's progress. But we will know if it's progress and there's something positive to talk about it when the Football Association of Zambia elections finally take place on the 9th of May. But it's good to see that now finally these elections will take place. Yeah,
I'm happy. Sanity has prevailed. They were bordering on raising the eye of FIFA to say, hey, what's happening here? And it was going to be sad to see them finding themselves on the wrong side of FIFA. As we always say, when these people in the streets are having their own nonsense happening there, at the end of the day, it's going to affect the players. Let them do what they need to do, hold peaceful, good elections, and let's continue with our lives. Whoever are elected to take the football of Zambia forward must be elected, and then we move. I'm happy. We are here, we are now. We'll be watching. I don't have credentials to run the elections, but I'll be watching from a distance.
And
with elections, a lot of
and I'm sure there was a high-powered delegation led by one of the senior members at FIFA, Fernandez, and also if you look at from the side of the delegation that is coming from CAF and also COSAFA as well, let's just recap and go back to what they said back then.
Seems that it will not happen. So yeah, that's a pity, but we have to respect what happened, the incidents that what happened, and then we will certainly report to our General Secretariat about what is going on and about the past and about certainly the future of this situation. We are pretty much united, very much united. The African Football Confederation and us, we are aligned into this, and my colleagues here made the travel because we believe Zambia is a big football federation as well. It's a country with a lot of talent, and we are here for that. Pretty much quickly, we followed everything that is happening here. There are status draft agreed by all the members, which should be respected. It's very simple, and it's not like we arrive in Zambia and we know nothing about what's going on, right? But we gave our position, we gave our recommendation, and simply we will analyze further the situation, and we will see what will happen in the near future, pretty much soon. What I can say is that it's certainly not the way of doing, and that this meeting is not very pleasant, right? The boys are preparing the AFCON in Morocco, and we should talk about that, to be honest. Not about these things, meeting. This is not, football is on the pitch, and we are here for that. That's our mission. That's the mission of us. That's the mission of COSAFA, CAF. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not all this drama, individuals. I mean, we don't have to forget our mission. Our mission is football development and give hope to the kids. And that something which, I'm not going more into details because there are some confidential things as well. I think we forget our priorities here. And that's for me as a Deputy Chief Member Association and Director Africa, it's a problem because, the kids suffer, not the AGM, the kids.
As we move out of this point, and I think it's very important because currently Zambia, they've qualified for that Under-17 World Cup. They are at the schools tournament. They are represented there as well.
Under-20.
Under-20, that's kicking off. They will be there next week. Yeah. And if they had been suspended, they would have moved out of all of this.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. All those politicians, out of football need to understand that the benefit of the players is more important. And I'm just happy. At least now in this election, which FIFA is very interesting. We don't know whether they have candidate there, that but if there's election and there's peaceful election and we choose the right president, I think that's the best for Zambian football.
Yeah, because
you can imagine if they were banned, the devastation on these kids who are supposed to go to this tournament.
Exactly.
It's something that some of them will probably never be able to recover from.
Yeah, because now you can imagine, everything that we're doing there, but we don't know, because apparently the government also have got their own candidates. Maybe they feel that because, I don't know.
It's always messy with elections. It's always messy.
Especially on our continent. And now, as we move out of looking forward to the matches in Cairo, we're also introducing a new section where we're focusing strictly on tactics and the philosophies and everything. And we've prepared something in this section with Kelvin Sosibo when we talk about these matches in detail and what needs to be done. Well, as I had said earlier, we have a new tactics corner with the coach Kelvin Sosibo, former Kaizer Chiefs, Maritzburg United midfielder. Of course, he also played in Turkey. Now we move to our new section, the tactics corner, and I enjoyed going through the report that you've prepared.
Yes.
Can you take us through as we look forward to the CAF Champions League second legs, but I'm sure you first want to look back at what happened in the first legs.
Yes. Yeah, for me, I just prepared something which we both went through it, which is, I looked at the structure in terms of pyramids.
Correct.
Which is the structure was 4-3-3. They applied the 4-3-3, which is, for me, which was a system that was already given that this team was going to come on a counter-attack. With the Orlando Pirates versus them, they came to a 4-3-2-1, which is they use a single striker. The threatening players on pyramids were Maela, Fati, and Havertz. And how that come about was that players that I've picked up, let me start with the goalkeeper, with Ahmed Shanawi. Controlled the game very well, made a lot of big saves.
Top goalkeeper.
Top goalkeeper. Controlled his last line very well. The structure was solid, very compact, communicated with his defense, not really involved on the build-up, and building up through the thirds. Now, Mohamed, then we go to Mohamed. Mohamed, brilliant defensive qualities, gave the team width and depth, vertical presence, and in the last line was quick to advance into the second phase of play. And then we go to Walid. Walid Al-Khat and Mohamed Fati. They were the key players that were linking up play between the defense and attack. Very important players on offensive transition. Their responsibilities were being able to create forward play, develop the game structure, more box entries, and breaking the lines. Now we had a guy that was threatening and that everybody's saying now Chiefs should sign him. Chiefs should sign him. Fiston Mayele. Top striker, very good mobile. What I've picked up from him is, he's got good physical ability, powerful, forceful on the air, good on 1v1, finds spaces behind the defensive structure, very easy, very clever, offers team the vertical presence by playing between two center backs, that's the space that is going to be operating between Sibisi and Mbogas. Right. So when he's going to sit there, he's going to pin them down, not to actually be more offensive.
And I think it's good to see Mayele playing in the strongest, or one of the strongest leagues on the continent, taking nothing away from Tanzania.
Yes.
Because now we are able to see his real qualities.
True, very true. I like him. I like him in terms of his build, as I've covered that. His physical abilities are good. Aerially, he's a force to be reckoned with. He jumps for every ball and he's good in holding up play, which, again, he helps the team to protect the ball by playing and joining the attack.
Yeah, I would like you to. Okay, I think you're going where I wanted you to go.
Yes. And then we go to the middle. One of the, I may be corrected if I'm wrong or right.
Yes.
Blati Torre.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a relationship with the Torre brothers.
He's from Burkina Faso.
But
what happens with Burkina Faso? Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire, they are like Lesotho, Eswatini, and South Africa. Okay. They're very close to each other, or even Botswana.
I think this is a mixed blood, because what I've seen from this guy, I can tell you now for sure, technically and tactically, the boy is gifted. Yes. The boy got great physical strength, good physical endurance, can cover great distance, and is a key player in driving the team forward. Very versatile. He varies his game with the short and long passes and find pockets into spaces to make the team to play. Great in breaking down play and has very good anticipation abilities.
Yeah, no, because I really enjoyed watching him. In fact, one of the points that we discussed here with the guys is also about why we need this profile of West African and Central African players, because there's just something different.
Yes.
And if you look here, in terms of the spine, this is a North African team.
Yeah.
But they are leading with Mayele at number 9, and in the center of the midfield, they've got Toure. So, which shows to you that you need that profile. And it's something, I'm sure you agree, Coach, that it's something that our teams must always have.
Always. I think the best, you just nailed it. When you have the vertical spine that is in coordination, it means you can always supplement on the side, because that's where you're going to need your individual brilliance.
In terms of Paris now, Coach, what do they need to do to get through this team that already is proving to be a serious threat?
Well, I think for Pirates, I think if they will play the same game against when they played the quarters, when they played away, Algeria, I think the same application that they of sitting. Because now remember, you're playing away from home, but what's going to be advantageous for Pirates is that Pyramids is going to try and come to them. And then they're going to use a lot of speed, they're going to be more aggressive. So what they will do is Pyramids, they're going to press them high. So that allows them to have spaces behind, which is now we can use the speed of Nkota, we can use the speed of Relay, and then we can use Maswangai's creativity. And we need, by all means, to have a Mahopa on this one, which is going to pin down those two
So
center
it means
backs.
you're starting Mahopa ahead of Mabasa?
Yes.
What is the difference there? Because a lot of people are confused because they say maybe Mabasa scoring more, being more effective domestically. But even Coach Hugo Bros always goes with Mahopa. Also, we've seen in this Champions League, Coach Jose Rivero go more with Mahopa. What is the difference between those two strikers? Who's got what?
Mahopa offers a team a lot of depth, a lot of vertical presence, which means he's mobile. He can run into the channels to open up spaces for the incoming late midfielders, or if you're using 210s, and then they're able to drive into those spaces. Comparing to Mabasa is more of a box-to-box person. He likes the shorter runs. That's why he has a lot of energy. Any balls that he'll get, if you check his game, most of the time you'll find him in a box. With Mahopa, you'll find him wide, trying to create space on the channel. So when he goes wide, so what then happens is you're getting a Relay having the free space. So then a defender on the back four, that's when they get disorientated, because when they follow him, they need to choose. If they don't follow him, and then now that means he can receive and then go into the channel. But if they do follow him, that will allow now for Relay to get into that space, Maswangai to be late in that box, and also on the other side, you're going to have Nkota that is going to be running in.
Yeah, but then defensively, because they were caught up in some situations last week, we saw how they were even bullied in that set play, which led to the second goal. Obviously, that was disallowed. And it's good to hear Coach Rivero himself saying that, in as much as Vieira saved them, but it was also a warning.
Yes. I think that warning comes in with the set pieces that were taken. A lot of ball watching in the box. I saw the game, I watched it, and responsibilities were shifted across. If responsibilities were really taken care of, which is start from the goalkeeper, I think Chayenne could have done a little bit better in terms of organizing the back four by positioning them. I still find it very difficult to understand in a professional setup where players do not understand when a player is right-footed, what type of a corner is that? If I'm left-footed and then I go on the opposite side, it's an in-swinger. So how do you defend an in-swinger? We need to understand that we need to go a little bit deeper, right? Or if we want to help the keeper to have some clearance, we stand on top of the big box, which is on the small box, which is a 6-yard box. So when that ball is played in, then we can challenge to the 6-yard box. However, if it's an outswinger, then we can sit on the 6-yard box, which is when the ball is whipped out, we can drive with the ball. So as it comes in, we need to sit on a small box. So then if it's an in-swinger, then the goalkeeper's got the area to deal with it. Like for instance, if you can look at here, if they set up here, then they can sit on top here because it's an in-swinger, right? So they can go low. But if it's an outswinger, you sit on top of your 6-yard box, so the ball will go out. Then you meet the ball. That's the difference. So I think these coaches' concerns were valid in a sense that you need to take responsibility and knowing the physical presence that we have in our boxes and the people that are challenging.
Very interesting. So you're confident that Bucks can come back here?
They can come back, for sure. And playing their game, they will come up with a draw. It's going to be a difficult one, but I think Pyramids will play an open game, and they'll play. If they play into Pirates' hands, Pirates must use their speed.
And Pirates has won 3 matches in that part of the land.
Yes.
Yeah. I want us to go quickly to Sundowns. This was a very different Ahly that came here to play against the Sundowns, because I felt that they were more aggressive when they attack, or they found their moments, and then they were looking at stealing the game the way they came here. Also, there are 2 VR moments as well. But I sense that this was not the dominant Sundowns that you would find against North Africans.
Well, I think now Sundowns is playing more into the African style, which is grind the results, no more trying to create as much opportunity as possible, because Ahly have watched them and they've seen that they've changed, and they know the pedigree of the coach and the style of play, how he plays. So they played according to the advantage of the coach, what the coach is doing. And for me, that is a worrying factor because Sundowns is not that convincing. We know that since Ahly had been coming to our country, they've been struggling to get results from Sundowns. But now they're trying to reduce the gap and it's becoming easier because when they get a draw, definitely it's going to be difficult that side because you know they've asked for full capacity.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yes.
The driving force. That means they are really serious about that game and they're going to put a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So just briefly, from last week's game, what did you pick up?
Well, on last week's game, again, I'm going to start with the goalkeeper, Mohamed Shanawi, right? In that, same. He controlled the match very well. Good physical presence. You know the goalkeeper is renowned, he's known. He's a legend of the team. I think for me, his leadership at the back gives the team the stability and the confidence in terms of how they come out. He's not more of a player, of a goalkeeper that will start from the back like Ronwen. So two contrasting, very direct. He's got very good height. He deals with his duels, his aerial balls very well. And then he's good on distribution, playing into, onto, and beyond. So when he does that, that means they are quick on transition, as you said, quick on counter-attack. He will be able to play into players, onto, and behind. Considering the fact that if Sundowns will press higher, then they will always find the spaces behind. Again, we look at Mohamed, brilliant defensive qualities again. Give the team width and vertical presence in the last line, quick to advance in the second phase of play, right? And on that, we're finding now Ahly being more dominant in the middle and they are quick on counter press. They're quickly to close you down and not allow you and give you room to play. So for me, it's challenging now because I still say that you can't have an Adams and Allende. That's not going to give you the same work rate. Try and change and give it a balance so that Mokoena can fully function. Because if he's pulled more back, then you're having issues.
But this game of Ahly, you feel that it was designed for away?
Yes. Yes.
So at home it's going to be different.
It's very different. So that game, they were trying to test them. Can we counter press them? And they said, oh yes, Bavu. Because the goals that were disallowed, you could see that Ahly was fishing for a goal and it was coming and it was coming. So in that approach was good because they never played onto Sundowns' hand. They forced Sundowns because they were anticipating that Sundowns will build.
Okay, let's go forward.
Yes. And then on that one, and then we come to the defensive pairing. Rabi, good defensive qualities, very organized, reads the game well, maintains the team structure and provides leadership as the last line of defense. We've covered Al-Shanawi. Mohamed, the defender, brilliant defensive qualities, provide width and depth, quick to advance in the second phases of play. And then you find an Ati, which is a very, very, very key player on defense and attack. So on both transition, he's more involved in that, which he excels on transition playing and carrying the balls into the forwards. Right, and then you had...
Also, those defenders, it means that you need a sharp Shalulile or even Ribeiro to occupy them. To
unlock them. To unlock them, I think when we go to Ahly, you're going to need an individual brilliance. But you need to be also wary because you have a much better quality in terms of the physical presence on this young star, which is Gransa, the striker, right? Which for me also I think he's got very good physical attributes, powerful and effective on the air, skilled, right? He's very skilled in finding spaces behind an organized defense because you know how Sundowns can organize. Gets into a scoring zones. And then we move into the last one, which is their key player, which is Ashab. Right? Tactically and technically flexible, excels in breaking the last line of defense with a quick combination play between the last line and finding pockets in the spaces to create more scoring opportunity.
How does Sundowns turn this around? Because the guys are clear that Mshishi must play a bigger and prominent role here.
I wouldn't say Mshishi must play. Come in and start the game. It's too dangerous. Coming from an injury, it needs to be well managed. I think they were under pressure to play. And
this was a serious injury.
That was a serious, because they can take him back. He might never come back from this. I suffered an Achilles tendon. I know how it is. When I saw him, yes, the part of me was happy to see him back. But manage him because, remember, when you come back and you're trying to help the team, you are not going to do what? To just go through the emotion. You want to help the team because of the player that you know and the caliber that you are. So going to Sundowns in terms of the approach of the game, I think also them, they need to play their own game that they've been playing, which is force a lot of errors from Ahly, because if they play the same game to sit, it's going to be difficult for them because Ahly will bring everything to them. So consolidate in terms of their defense, organize their rest defense, push Ahly more, don't allow them to build, minimize the spaces behind you, and always use your speed because you know they wouldn't cope with that. So speed is a factor on this game.
And you feel that the approach of Coach Miguel Cardoso can accommodate that?
It can accommodate if he deploys the right strategy, because I think in this game it's all about strategy. He needs to go into this game with a more solid plan and more strategy, because Ahly has given them the game plan.
Yeah.
He needs to receive and dissect the plan.
Yes. In fact, as we close, both these games are at 0-0.
Yes.
Even from South Africa.
Yes.
So meaning that there were no away goals.
No away goals.
Which is what I still believe gives our teams a big advantage, not a big advantage, but an advantage.
A point. It would give them a cushion in a sense that when you play at home, you are more under pressure. You asking for full capacity fans. It means you need to get goals, not to upset those people up there. So you need to play smartly and manage your game.
And playing at a 75,000 packed Cairo International Stadium, you score an early goal, you silence the crowd. And then you put the team under pressure. They must come and utilize the space behind.
Yes. Now you change it. As I said when we had a lengthy conversation, I said, Taveja, your answers are in there. But you say to me, how? Where's the other information? I'm saying, look at the formation that is being played and you look at the jewels. How they're going to win their jewel, that will determine the game.
The other guys didn't want to predict. You want to predict?
Yeah, for sure. Sundowns 1-0.
Sundowns 1-0?
Sundowns 1-0, wow. Pirates 1-0.
Pirates 1-0?
Yes.
I will be there. So next week.
And I'll give you the first call and say, I told you.
Very interesting. So I have to say, gents, I will see you almost in a month's time now.
You in a month's time.
I'll see you almost in a month's time. And I hope that we don't burn this place.
Please make sure you visit the Flying Eagles camp.
Flying Eagles camp,
yeah, please.
Yeah, but when I come back, I trust and hope that I'm supposed to be there for the entire duration of the tournament, and hopefully a first leg of the Champions League will be played there, and then the second leg. Let me not say this. Because now...
both will be played.
Yeah. No, okay. Let me rephrase that part. But so I just hope that when I come back, this place will still be here. By the way, to those who don't know, we are coming live from the Calabash. This is the Hall of Fame. And Shaba here is the Hall of Famer. Because this is the venue. This is the Shaba Stadium from 2010. But I'm looking forward to it, gents, and I know that we will carry this flag of African football forward, and we will cover African football in its entirety and in the very much way that we're expecting it to be covered, especially from this tournament.
We wish you well. Bring us
nice news there, man.
Chineke?
I'm told you are moving outside for the next week.
Oh yes. So we will go back to the real Calabash, and I can tell you that throughout this tournament you're going to see it. Even the coverage of the AFCON, you are going to hear more about all the teams, not just Amajita, including the Flying Eagles.
Definitely. That's why. Get
check the Flying Eagles MRI.
Hey, because I was looking at this under 15 of Uganda, and the under 15 schools. Hey, that one.
Those are under 15 turning 24.
No, but they have.
That's on the 15, on the 17, on the 20. Let's leave it there.
No. But if they have MRI in the under 17.
Yeah.
Oh, you must also have MRI in the under 15.
Yeah, true. Everybody.
So
True.
please go to the Nigeria.
You need to put Greg under MRI also. I wonder what will come out, 98.
No. I finished my job. I'm not a player again.
And as we always say in our anthem, Jambo Africa.